Hey guys, so right now we're going to be looking at the last portion of our story. It is, in fact, the end of the story Cyclops and the story of Circe. So it's two sections from the nonfiction reading. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with page 49, second paragraph, where it says, Once we were clear of the shore. Follow along in your assignment and make sure that you annotate, meaning write a short summary as we read, and then respond to the questions at the end. Here we go. Once we were clear of the shore, I called out to the monster, determined to torment him. Polyphemus, your cruel hospitality has been rewarded, but now you'll learn to respect both gods and man. The Cyclops, who was stumbling blindly around the hillside, turned angrily to the sea when he heard my voice. He tore an enormous rock from the top of the cliffs and hurled it towards us. It narrowly missed our prow and threw up a great wave, washing our ship back towards the beach. I pushed us out of the shallows with a long pole, while men rowed furiously to carry us out of the monster's rage. When we were twice as far from the shore as before, I turned back to face the Cyclops. My men tried to dissuade me, but I was still bitterly angry, and I cried out again, Polyphemus, last night you asked me my name, and I told you it was No Man. You were stupid enough to believe me. Now I want you to know that it wasn't No Man who blinded you, but Odysseus, son of Laertes, the destroyer of Troy. The Cyclops buried his head in his hands and shook it slowly from side to side. Now I understand, he groaned. This was all foretold many years ago. But I never suspected that Odysseus would turn out to be a puny little wretch like you. I should have killed you when I had the chance. Now I must pray to my father, Lord Poseidon, god of the sea, to heal my injured eye. I laughed at the stricken giant. Your prayers will go unanswered, Polyphemus. Not even his Zeus himself could restore your sight. You're blind for life. A curse on you, little Greek, and all of your companions, roared the Cyclops, shaking with rage. Hear me, my father, Poseidon the earth-shaker, and grant your son his heartfelt prayer. May Odysseus never see his home again. However, if he's fated to return, make sure that his journey's long and miserable, that all his companions die, and that his is a bitter homecoming. Poseidon heard his prayer, and the curse of the Cyclops had pursued me ever since. When he had cursed us, the monster hurled another huge rock towards us, but now we were out of range, and it fell harmlessly behind us. The wave carried us away from the shore and out of danger. Polyphemus and his fellow Cyclops would not follow us because they had no ships. We had been safe on the smaller island after all. We soon reached the beach where we had left the main fleet 2 days before. There we mourned our dead companions, and I slaughtered the largest ram to make a special offering to Zeus. It turned out to be a wasted sacrifice. After we had made a great feast of the sheep that we had stolen from the Cyclops and drank to the memory of our lost comrades, that night we slept where we lay on the beach, and when dawn came, we pushed out to sea once more. Moving on to Circe. We sailed in silence over the desolate sea. It seemed that our journey had been doomed from the start, and now great Poseidon himself was against us. We had every reason to be subdued. After 2 days, we came to an extraordinary floating island surrounded by a bronze wall, encasing tall cliffs that rose up sheer above it. We moored our ships in the harbor, and with some trepidation, after our previous encounters, climbed the stone steps that led to the city. We should not have worried. The island belonged to Aeolus, a favorite of the gods, chosen by Zeus to be guardian of the four winds. He treated us to a splendid feast, and when I told him the story of Troy and our checkered journey home, he presented me with a gift. It was a bag of strong hide tied with a silver cord that contained 3 of the 4 winds. Only the west wind was left free. The west wind would blow us home. When we were safely on the shores of Ithaca, I was to release the other winds. But, and Aelios stressed how important this was, not a moment before. I blame myself for the disaster that overtook us. For 9 days and nights the west wind blew us towards Ithaca. On the morning of the 10th day we could see our countrymen tending to their flocks on the hills, and the smoke of 100 fires curling over the islands. Sure that our voyage had come to an end, I relaxed into a deep sleep. I had been at the rudder for 9 days and nights without closing my eyes once, determined that nothing should go wrong, if only my vigilance had lasted a little longer. As soon as I was asleep, my men began to talk among themselves. I suppose they were carried away by the sight of Ithaca, drunk with the anticipation of joys of coming home. Greedy, pig-headed fools! They were never to know those joys. They decided to empty the bag Aelios had given me and share out the contents equally between them. They got equal shares, all right. We all did. Once the winds were loose, they blew up a tempest that drove us away from Ithaca shore. I woke up to find us lost on the open sea. My men were weeping over their folly. As for me, I felt like hurling myself into a raging sea to end it all then and there. Within 3 days the winds had driven us back to Aelios' floating island. I explained what happened and begged him to help us again. But now Aelios would have nothing to do with us. Get out of here at once, unluckiest of men. Your story shows that the gods are against you, and the God-forsaken are not welcome here. We returned to our ships with this cold words ringing in our ears, and sick at heart, we sailed away from the island. The winds were unpredictable, and the swollen sea made it difficult to row. We were lost yet again, and now there was no west wind to blow us home. For 6 days and 6 nights we struggled miserably on, and on the 7th morning we were once more in sight of land. We sailed along the coast until we came to the city, with a well-protected harbor overlooked by tall cliffs. I watched the rest of the fleet pass through the narrow harbor entrance and drop their anchors in the still, sheltered waters. Then I ordered my own crew to pull into the rocks just outside of the harbor, where I could conveniently send men ashore to spy out the land. I sent 3 men to find out what they could. It was not long before 2 of them came running back to the ship with a terrible tale to tell. On the road to town, they had met a young woman who told them that the land was called Laestrygonia, and that her father, Antiphates, was the king. She pointed out his palace, where they went in all innocence to ask for shelter and provisions. Once inside the palace, they realized that they had made a horrible mistake. The Laestrygonians were giants, like the Cyclops, and just as savage. Antiphates seized one of my men and tore him apart. The other 2, my trusted cousin Eurylochus and his friend Polydes, just barely managed to escape. As they finished the story, hundreds of giants, Laestrygonians, appeared on the cliff overlooking the harbor and began hurling huge rocks down onto the ships below. My men struggled desperately to haul in the anchors and get their ships under way, but they were too late. The entire fleet was smashed apart by the bombardment, and the survivors were spread like fish and cooked alive on spits of the cruel giants. Because my own ship was moored outside of the harbor, we were able to slip away unnoticed and unharmed. But our escape was a joyless affair. We brooded over the loss of so many fine comrades and shuddered at the memory of the unspeakable sight we had seen. After 2 more miserable days at sea, we reached land again and found a small natural harbor where we moored our ships and disembarked. Then we just lay on the beach for 2 days and nights, overcome with sorrow and exhaustion. Okay? Take a few minutes to answer the final questions, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.